Om Shivaya Namah. Chapter 2. The Liberation of Devaraja. Shaunaka said, O Suta, thou art the most blessed and the most fortunate knower of the greatest truth. Thou hast narrated to us, out of great compassion, this divine wonderful tale. This wonderful narrative that destroys hosts of sins, purifies the mind, and propitiates Lord Shiva has been heard by us. Thanks to thy compassion, we have decisively realized that there is nothing so fine and nice as this tale. Who are those among the sinners in the Kali age who get sanctified by this story? Please enlighten us, make the whole world gratified. Suta said, Men who habitually commit sins, wicked persons indulging in vicious activities, and persons of lecherous disposition become pure hereby. This is a great jnana yagna. It yields worldly enjoyment as well as salvation. It dispels all sins and delights Shiva. Men overwhelmed by the thirst of covetousness, those devoid of truthfulness, those who decry even their parents, haughty vain fellows, and persons prone to violent activities become sanctified by this. Those who never practice the duties of their varnas and ashramas, and those of malicious temperament become sanctified thanks to the jnana yagna even in the Kali age. Those who habitually practice deception and those who are ruthless and of cruel disposition are sanctified by this jnana yagna even in the Kali age. Those who misappropriate the wealth of Brahmins and thereby nourish themselves, and those who indulge in the heinous crimes of adultery become sanctified by this jnana yagna even in the Kali age. Those who always indulge in sinful activities and those who are roguish, persons of wicked mind, become sanctified by this jnana yagna even in this Kali age. Men of unclean habits and wicked minds, men who know no peace, and men who swallow temple and trust properties become sanctified by this jnana yagna even in the Kali age. The merit accruing from this Purana destroys great sins, yields worldly enjoyments and salvation, and delights Lord Shiva. In this context, an ancient anecdote is cited as an example, the mere hearing of which removes all sins utterly. In the city of Kiratas, there lived a Brahmin extremely poor and deficient in knowledge. He used to sell various kinds of beverage and was averse to the worship of gods or to worship activities. He never practiced the daily Sandhya prayers or ablutions. His practice resembled a vicious mode of living. He never hesitated to receive credulous persons. His name was Devaraja. Either by killing or by using various deceitful means, he used to rob Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Sudras, and others. Thus, by foul means, much wealth was later accumulated by him. But the sinner that he was, not even the slightest part of his wealth was utilized in virtuous acts. Once that Brahmin went to a lake to take his bath. There he saw a harlot called Shobhavati and was much agitated at her sight. The beautiful woman was extremely delighted on coming to know that a rich Brahmin had become her willing slave. The Brahmin's heart was filled with love due to her pleasant talk. He decided to make her his wife and consented to have him as her husband. Thus, in mutual love, they sported for a long time. Sitting, lying, eating, drinking, and playing together, they were not at all different from any other wedded couple. Dissuaded again and again by his mother, father, first wife, and others though he was, he never paid heed to their words but continued his sinful activities. Once he became so enraged as to kill his mother, father, and wedded wife at dead of night, while they were asleep, and took possession of their wealth. Enamored of the courtesan, he handed over to her his own wealth and also the wealth that he looted from his father, mother, and first wife. In the company of this harlot, he used to eat all sorts of forbidden food, became an addict to wine and spirituous liquors, and partook of his food from the same plate as his concubine. Once, by chance, he came to the city of Pratisthana. He saw a Shiva temple where saintly men had congregated. During his stay there, he was afflicted by an acute fever. He heard the discourse of Shiva conducted by a Brahmin. The Brahmin Devaraja, suffering from fever, died at the end of a month. He was bounded by nooses by Yama's attendants and forcibly taken to Yama's city. In the meanwhile, Shiva's attendants, dressed in white, smeared with ashes all over the body, wearing garlands of rudraksha and wielding tridents in their hands, started furiously from Shivaloka and reached Yama's city. They threatened the attendants of Yama, the god of death, and thrashed them. Releasing Devaraja from their clutches, they seated in a wonderful aerial chariot. When they were about to start to Kailasha, a great tumult arose in the middle of Yama's cities, on hearing which Dharmaraja, the god of death, himself came out of his palace. On seeing the four messengers who appeared like replicas of Rudra himself, Dharmaraja, the knower of the virtues, honored them in accordance with the custom. Yama came to know of everything through his vision of wisdom. Out of fear, he did not question the noble attendants of Shiva. Being duly honored and adored by Yama, they went to Kailasha and handed over the Brahmin to Shiva, the very ocean of mercy, and to the Divine Mother Parvati. Blessed indeed is the story of Shivbhakts, the holiest of holy stories, a mere hearing of which qualifies even the greatest sinner for salvation. The great seat of Sadashiv is the greatest abode and the noblest of positions which Vedic scholars have extolled as stationed above all lokas. Devaraja, the base Brahmin, addicted to wine, enamored of vile harlot, slayer of his own father, mother, and wife, who out of greed for money had killed many Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras, and others, became a liberated soul instantaneously on reaching the supreme loka. Thank you. Om Shivaya Namaha.